than just that review of natural resource issues, we also finalized the date for the community open house, which will be June 19th. I have 2 flyers here tonight. I just stuck a poster on the front door. I hope that's okay. So there are 2 flyers here announcing the schedule for the ongoing meetings for the steering committee, as well as the June 19th open house. Everyone will be invited to come in and add their opinion to what we've been working on. There'll be a number of displays around this room. You'll have a chance to take a deeper dive into some of the information that's been provided, add your opinions, and ask questions, both of the steering committee members as well as the planning commission. We'll have some other planners here as well to help out. So that's the big news from the steering committee is, again, June 19th from 6 to 8 in this room, the open house for the comprehensive plan. So if you want to learn more about that, we also have the website, and that's on the flyer as well, so you can ask questions or you can gain information there. We really are ramping up our efforts to get more information onto the website, but now that things are getting a little bit more settled with that, we'll be adding the information that we review at the meetings, so you can look at it at your leisure, at your home, on your computer. So that's really the only update we have at this time.
Thank you.
And I just want to add to what Crystal is saying. I really encourage everybody, tell their friends, tell their neighbors, bring your family members to this open house. It's from 6 to 8. If you can't get there till 7, come at 7. If you have to leave at 6:30, leave at 6:30. It's a lot of activities. They're going to be fun. There's going to be refreshments. It's not going to be a presentation. It's coming and looking at maps and putting down your what you would like to see in this township that's good, that you want to keep, things you want to change, what you like, what you don't like. So I really encourage everyone to come. The comprehensive plan is only as good as the input from the community, which is all of you.
Mark and Rec.
Flyers all here, you're on the table.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. We also have not met this month yet, but just in a quick review, we had a busy month last month. On April 6th, we had our Cedar Hill cleanup. Very much appreciate everyone who came out and helped. We got a lot of debris picked up. We posted that up on the Township website. We also made some significant advances in advancing the One Connector Trail. And also we placed the Township maintenance folks, made sure we had a bench there. Appreciate that. And we placed the bench and got that area cleared out as well. So we made, not only did we get it cleaned up, we made some improvements to that park as well, as part of our plan. On the 15th, we had our AmeriCorps grant, that award. We had 8 people from AmeriCorps that came, and we did the first planting at the Village Center Park at CVS. That went well. We also weeded, got a lot of the weeding done. We had a lot of extra time, and Janet and some other folks came and helped us out. And we got a lot of weeding done in the circle around the CVS sign. Really improved things considerably there. We had our egg hunt on the 27th. We had to postpone that for the 20th because of rain, but we had a relatively good turnout, and the kids that were there beat out like bandits. A lot of things, a lot of candy. Really appreciate Bill's help in the logistics, and Robin and her channeling her inner bunny was phenomenal. On May 27th, Memorial Day, we have our yard sale at Coble Park. Anyone interested in doing that? And September 28th, again, is the centennial, and we're going to have a chili cook-off for that, so pay attention to the website. As soon as we get that notice made up, there'll be a registration form, so anyone who wants to engage in the chili cook-off, that'll be up on our website as soon as we get it. We are going to start posting updates on the project of the Village Center Park and any other park projects we have going live, and also some additional educational information associated with the work that we're doing with those parks to try to educate the public. So as we get that posted up, we'll put a sign in front of the park when we're ready to roll. We've got something up. You can see what we're doing and why, and you'll be able to follow what we're doing and what our plans are. And associated with the updates of the plans is the open invite for anyone who has ideas, comments on the work that we're doing for the park board and what we're doing in the parks, what we're planning on doing in the parks. please, feel free to either contact us through the email, park board email, or come to a meeting and, let us hear what your ideas are. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a question.
Yes.
If people want to help out on some of your projects, how do they sign up?
We're going to be posting up as we get projects. We are planning another planting in June and another one later in the fall. We're also going to have some weeding projects going on. I know Jackie started to work on getting the scouts involved on making some big nests for us. And we're going to do some education on pollinator gardens and that kind of thing. So as we do our outreach, we will be putting that up on the website and people will have an opportunity to volunteer. And I also would like to mention, thank you very much to the solicitor and Terry for following up on us on the tax deductibility of the donations to the parks. They are tax deductible, and that's going to be a useful thing for us to utilize as we are reaching out to the community to get donations for the park as well. So.
Any donation above $250, the township will provide written proof of that donation. And that's important to
Yes.
maintain the tax deductibility.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you again. EAC.
I'm Rachel Hendricks, I'm interim chair of the EAC. We had our first meeting on April 29th. We organized, our vice chair is Ruth Heil, and our secretary is Jackie O'Neill. During our meeting, we picked our regular meeting week. It will be the fourth Monday of the month, with the exception of May, due to the holiday. We'll be meeting on May 30th at 7 p.m. Our next meeting will be discussing and voting on our bylaws that are being drafted right now. We discussed priorities for the EAC. We mostly agreed that the first task will be doing an environmental resource inventory. We'll do that with both a field day visit, going around the township on the public areas, as well as any data and records that we can get from the township to do that inventory and prioritize the issues we want to advise the board on, as well as reviewing ordinances and working on community outreach programs. We encourage everyone to come to our meetings, check out if you have any ideas, you can email them to the township manager or directly to us.
Thank you. Appointments to the board, you mentioned the steering committee,
Mr. Chairman, first off, the agenda says steering committee. I apologize for that. It should be the Environmental Advisory Council. You recall the board of supervisors in our last meeting appointed 7 residents to serve on the newly created Environmental Advisory Council. Now, the follow-up to that is the board, back on December the 4th, created the Environmental Advisory Council by ordinance. And one of the conditions is duly appointed council members shall serve a term of 3 years, except that initial appointments shall be so staggered that their terms of approximately 1/3 of the membership shall expire each year, and the total is 7. So, in the interests of fairness and transparency, we decided to write each name on a piece of paper. We put it in a box. Seriously, we did. And we had Eric, who did the honors of, totally impartial, did the honors of pulling the names out. And the results are as follows: Rachel Hendricks, Ruth Heil, Monica Strawbridge, each will receive a 3-year term. Lauren and Denise Finney, 2-year terms. Jackie O'Neill and Gary Bonner, 1-year terms. And I think that concludes everything we need to do for the the moment with the EAC. I'll notify those folks of the results.
Thank you. New business. New business. Public comment. How many public comment? Bill?
Bill Smith, 205 Burlock Road. I have some questions to ask about the extension of the sewering that's taking place up at Mine Hill and Main Road. 104 apparently is receiving a extension of the Schwanksville Borough Authority's sewering district into Lower Frederick's R1 district. And we contacted, when I drove down Main Road last week, I contacted Terry. I'd seen some markings on the road, so I just was curious as to what they were. So I shot some pictures and sent it to Terry. And he actually, I guess, deferred to Carol, who got back to me and said that there was a sewer main extension being placed out on Main Road to connect 104 Main Road into the municipal authority of Schwanksville. Their sewer water or service area ends on Mine Hill Road. So, of course, I was, kind of, wow, that's kind of new to me. I'm on the planning commission. We've never heard anything about that. So information that Carol had provided to me, and I called the DEP regional office and talked to the representative from our area. And she provided me with the letter that Lower Frederick had sent to the DEP, basically giving the green light for that sewer. And I have a copy of that letter, which I provided. Made 5 copies for the board. So you got a copy here. But I had 2 particular points on that letter that kind of aroused some questions in my mind. And I highlighted those in the letter that was sent by then Township Manager Kevin Devine to the DEP, acknowledging the green light for Lower Frederick's position to enable that sewer to take place. And the first point that they made, or that Kevin made in that letter to the DEP was that, the township had no opposition to that extension of the sewering system to service that. And, that's all well and good, but I just wondered from the board, how did you arrive at, making that approval? I guess that would be my first question, if you will. It never came before the planning commission, so I was sort of like, well, I guess as a board action, I was curious as to how it was arrived at to allow that to take place.
Speaking for myself, this is the first I've heard of this. Well, it's not the first I've heard of it because I live right around the corner, so I didn't know about it because I saw the work. But I've never seen this letter, even though that's our names on it. And Carol's not here, and neither is our former manager, so I think who can speak to the background.
Well, you have to speak to ignorance, I suppose, because
Everything that you said is consistent with my understanding. I did discuss this with Carol, and my understanding is that there was some conversation perhaps back in October. I'm not sure if it involved the board at that time or not, so I don't know that piece of it. But then back in October, the property owner did secure the proper permits at that time with the township. And as you know, at that point, everything really, it's the Schwanksville authority to approve that connection into the system. The Department of Environmental Protection did ultimately take the position that this project does not meet the definition of the subdivision of the Pennsylvania Sewage Facilities Act. Therefore, no planning modules are required to be submitted to the department. So they essentially come and they're saying there's no planning module required. I'm not saying if this is the right way of doing things. I was trying to, based on Marla had reached out to me about a week ago, and I was trying to piece everything together as best I can. So I pulled out the file. I see DEP essentially issued the waiver. There were permits issued back in October, and that's pretty much what I know. The only other thing I know at this point is that I believe the project is pretty much completed, that the directional board from the property owners home, a directional board up, I forgot the name of the road, it's not Main Road, it's the road that's nearby. Line, thank you. A directional board, I think, right into the manhole, so as a result, they didn't have to open cut any roads. And at this point, that there's a few items within the property itself that they have to take care of. So.
Well, I guess the thing that concerns me about, the issue of how this has been done was obviously, I'm surprised to hear that the board wasn't consulted and given taken action to get an approval. It sounds as though it sort of bypassed our elected officials here, but the letter, as you see, states that the extension that was produced by the Schwenksville Borough Authority has oversized the main that's being placed in there to accommodate future development. Now that main runs to the west. And if you look at our 537 plan, which I made copies of the segment that speaks to Main Road, and there's a little map that's indicating marks where the pertinent spots are on the Main Road and Mine Hill Road. You can clearly see that exceeds our service area and our future, sewering area. So we're basically taking the planning from our township and excluding that from the process here, even if it currently, made the benchmark, if you will, for the DEP to approve it. It still took Lower Frederick's planning and input out of the equation. From my perspective, maybe you can like me differently about that, but that seems to be a big issue of what took place here. And further, when I contacted the Montgomery County Board of Health, and I don't know, the Montgomery County Board of Health is actually the SEO, or Sewage Enforcement Agency for Lower Frederick Township. We're not a big city or metropolis that has an in-house SEO. We use the county services, if you will, to provide us with the services of sewage enforcement. The actual inspection that finally took place for that failed system that prompted this was on November the 28th, 2018. And our approval letter from the township went out on November the 21st. So that kind of raises, in my mind, sort of a question about the sequence of things here. How is our SEO, which is the county, goes out and inspects it 7 days after the township has approved that process, been okay, and go ahead and do it. So here's actually the letter from the county that defines the date and exactly what took place there. I highlighted the things that I felt were pertinent to your understanding. So I don't know whether there's...
So just to clarify, you're saying, as I understand it, that the decision was made to do this project by the homeowner. We gave approval for it, or Frederick gave approval for it, Schwenksville knew about it, and then after all of that, DEP said there's a problem? Is that my understanding?
DEP has not said that there's a problem. Simply, I'm asking a
It
question.
said that there was sewage, this letter says that they found sewage discharge on November 27th.
That's the county health department,
The
yes.
county health
Yes.
department, okay, I'm sorry. County health.
I'm sorry.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe we can ask Carol and possibly Tom Keenan if they can provide any further details on this,
Yeah, I agree, that would be,
even though we're here.
yeah, that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, I didn't really expect an answer tonight, but I wanted to, kind of inquire from the board while we're meeting tonight, as to, what might be going on there and how this kind of suggests to me, at least, that the planning process was not only bypassed, but there seems to be a discrepancy between the approval process that took place to get us to the point that, we are now. So I respectfully request perhaps maybe at some near-term point, we would get an answer to those questions. Maybe the next public meeting would be fine. Thank you.
Public comment? Yes.
I'm reading 302 Village Drive. I just want to get on the record, I didn't have a chance to comment when we were talking about the parking stalls on Village Drive. I am the third homeowner that's not in the HOA, and I also oppose any new parking restrictions there. That's it.
I'm sorry, your name again?
Roy Dean.
Public comment? Warren?
I would just like to say my opinion that I am very, very happy for the Pearsons that they were able to solve their problem and get themselves hooked in and get everything fixed up without having anybody come in and make them go through any unnecessary red tape or anything like that. They did everything by the rules as far as I can see. The DEP approved everything, and nobody stood in their way, and they got the problem fixed. They knew they had a problem. I knew they had a problem because I've walked in their problem before because I worked in their backyard. The Montgomery County Health Department makes it official when they come out, but when you have a septic problem, you know about it. And yeah, this is a rare case that everything worked. The government worked. The people were allowed to fix their problem. That doesn't always happen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ernie Schmidt, Silverbrook Drive, Lower Frederick Township. There might not be a problem, government work different than it should, but there's a protocol with doing this when you come into a municipality. They don't have the unequivocal right. I've been through this before with my experience with sewer authorities and the regional sewer authorities. There's ways that you're supposed to address it and talk to the municipalities. And Warren's right, yes, they solved their problem. But there's other markings in the road, it looks like they're trying to push their tentacles out. I really thought when I drove by, I thought it was probably something to do with water more than sewer. I didn't get sewer thought. I saw the rotary boring machine set up. I don't know what type system. I'm assuming they put a pressure pump system in to pump, because there's no way they can be doing that by gravity from that. So they have to be pumping it to their main line out there that goes in our township as approved previously by Lower Frederick. I don't know what the